At the new Global Financing Pact Summit in France, South African President Cyril Ramaphosa made a strong call for fair treatment and participation of African leaders in the global decision-making processes. In his powerful address, he sought a move toward a more inclusive and equitable partnership while challenging the prevalent norms that have historically disenfranchised African nations. Because the summit was centered on critically important financial issues, including credit, loans, and investments, President Ramaphosa stressed how urgent it is to rectify the historical inequities that have relegated African leaders to the role of mere bystanders in the process of sculpting the global financial landscape. His fervent appeal underlined the need for African voices to be heard and respected as equal partners in the decision-making process and determining the course of global finance. Hello and welcome to another video of Finance Sense, where we cover all the latest trends in the financial markets and the economy. Before we start, make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and comment below if you enjoyed watching this video, and turn on the notification bell to keep posted. And now, without further ado, let's start. South African President Cyril Ramaphosa began his speech at the new Global Financing Pact Summit in France with a positive tone, highlighting the progress that he observed unfolding in the room. It was evident that a consensus was taking shape, one that resonated with everyone present, a shared understanding that the twin challenges of climate change and poverty must be tackled together. President Ramaphosa emphasized the crucial nexus between the two issues, emphasizing the need to address them in tandem. He drew a metaphorical parallel, likening the approach to a burning candle that required attention on both sides. This analogy underscored the importance of recognizing the interconnectedness of climate action and poverty alleviation, as neglecting one aspect could jeopardize progress on the other. In line with this, President Ramaphosa emphasized the urgent need for substantial capital at scale to address the complex challenges faced by countries worldwide, with particular emphasis on those in the developing world. He acknowledged that economic growth and sustainable development required significant financial resources and concerted efforts from all stakeholders involved. Moreover, recognizing the indispensable role played by development banks and multilateral institutions, the South African president called for greater cooperation and coordination with the private sector. He stressed the necessity of aligning the strategies and objectives of these institutions to ensure a unified and effective approach. He further emphasized that any fragmentation or discord between these entities would hinder progress toward achieving shared global goals. President Ramaphosa aimed to foster an environment that promoted synergy, efficiency, and maximum impact by advocating for enhanced collaboration between development banks, multilateral organizations, and the private sector. Meanwhile, the South African president also mentioned the crucial need for consensus on reforming the world's financial architecture. He expressed his belief that without such reforms, the aspirations and goals to address global challenges would remain unfulfilled. These necessary reforms, he contended, should encompass a wide range of issues. To substantiate his claim, he referred to a statement made by Mr. Mo Ibrahim the previous day, highlighting a seemingly insignificant yet significant matter: the composition of the boards of directors of multilateral institutions. He noted that these boards primarily consisted of internal individuals or shareholders, lacking independent directors. From the South African perspective, this represented an important area for reform. Another issue the South African president highlighted during the summit was the distribution of special drawing rights. He expressed difficulty in accepting the idea that the current rule stipulated a fixed allocation, leaving countries with either zero or a limited amount, typically ranging from 3 to 4 billion. In President Ramaphosa's view, this distribution should not be approached as a zero-sum game, but rather as a game where equity and fairness are paramount. He called for reforms to ensure that all nations were treated equitably and justly in the allocation of SDRs. Continuing his address at the new Global Financing Pact Summit, President Ramaphosa further stressed the importance of equality and full participation for all nations within global institutions. He argued that the era the world finds itself in demands a significant measure of equality among sovereign nations. In connection, President Ramaphosa stated the recent diplomatic efforts by 7 African countries, including Zambia, Comoros, the Republic of Congo, Senegal, Uganda, South Africa, and Egypt, Egypt, who came together to advocate for peace between Ukraine and Russia. He explained that their united objective was not to approach the issue as beggars seeking favors, but rather to address the adverse impact of the conflict on the African continent. Their primary concern was the rising prices of food and fertilizers, which were negatively affecting the region. President Ramaphosa made it clear that their mission was to request the opening of the Black Sea Channel, facilitating the free flow of grains and fertilizers into the global market. After this, he underlined the fact that Africa should not be seen as a continent that is in need of generosity, but instead as an equal player in global organizations. Even when its equity levels were low, the continent worked toward the goal of being regarded on an equal basis with other regions. President Ramaphosa stressed the significance of protecting national sovereignty, a value held dear by countries across Africa. This notion was made evident during conversations with President Zelensky of Ukraine and President Putin of Russia, both of whom suggested finding solutions based on donations. Despite this, the majority of African nations have expressed their desire for the release of grains and fertilizers onto the global market, which would make it possible for international trade in these commodities. Moving along, President Ramaphosa turned his attention to both positive and negative aspects that needed to be addressed. He acknowledged President Macron's focus on these issues, highlighting one negative aspect related to unfulfilled commitments. President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi of Egypt and President Denis Sassou Nguesso of Republic of Congo had previously raised concerns about the $100 billion that was promised in Paris. Furthermore, President Ramaphosa recognized the initiatives presented by various countries, particularly Germany and the United States, which had made significant efforts to address global challenges. However, he candidly expressed that there had been instances where they felt like beggars, especially during the COVID-19 pandemic. He mentioned his role as chair of the African Union during that time and how they had experienced difficulties in accessing vaccines. While Northern Hemisphere countries had already secured a substantial portion of the global vaccine supply, they were reluctant to share them when they were most needed. The South African president noted that this situation generated resentment and the perception that they were merely receiving scraps from the table. Moreover, the resistance they were met with at the World Trade Organization was another obstacle that was brought to light by President Ramaphosa's discussion of the difficulties that Africa had when seeking to manufacture their own vaccines. He raised concerns about the way that pharmaceutical companies put the maximization of profits ahead of the protection of human life. This only deepened their disappointment and resentment against the world, as it appeared that a life lived in the Northern Hemisphere was given a higher value than a life lived in the Global South. Addressing these issues, President Ramaphosa emphasized the importance of thorough discussions at the summit to delve into the heart of the matter. He urged for a tangible translation of promises into action, stressing the need for action to align with the rhetoric. In his call to walk the talk, President Ramaphosa echoed the sentiments shared by Chancellor Olaf Scholz, outlining the need for concrete steps to be taken to fulfill the commitments made. He expressed the collective desire to witness tangible progress and meaningful actions that would address the concerns raised during the summit. Overall, President Ramaphosa emphasized the role of credit finance and investment in propelling Africa's economic growth and development. He stressed the need to have access to reasonable credit and loans, as well as a more equitable allocation of resources. President Ramaphosa acknowledged the importance of organizations like the International Monetary Fund, but advocated for reforms to better represent African countries and give their concerns proper weight. By questioning the status quo, President Cyril Ramaphosa showed his dedication to promoting an open and collaborative strategy that recognizes the crucial role of African leaders in influencing the global economy and guaranteeing shared prosperity for everyone. Hi, we hope that watching this video was interesting and that you learned something valuable. If you enjoyed it, please hit the notification button, like, subscribe, and watch more of our videos. Also, don't forget to share your comments in the comment section below. This is Finance Sense, helping you stay current on all the most recent changes in the financial markets and economy. Stay safe and look out for the next video.